Have you ever wondered what happened to Jesus during the 3 days between his death and resurrection? What if I told you that those silent, shadowed hours were not just a pause, but a powerful moment that changed everything? Picture this: Jesus hanging on the cross, facing unimaginable suffering. With his final breath, he says, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." And just like that, he descended, not to rest, but to do something far more incredible. In the depths of the earth, in a place where no human eye can see, Jesus entered the realm of the dead. It wasn't a place of defeat, it was a divine mission. He wasn't just buried in a tomb, he was making a journey into the heart of the invisible world, where his victory over death would be sealed. So, what exactly happened there, and how does it change everything for us today? Stay with me, because what Jesus did in those 3 days is a story that brings light to even the darkest places of our lives. Section 1. Theological Context: Understanding the concept of Sheol and Jesus' descent. Let's start by understanding the concept of Sheol, a word that appears often in the Bible. In ancient Jewish thought, Sheol wasn't just a dark, mysterious place. It was the realm of the dead, where both the righteous and the wicked went after death. Imagine it as a waiting room. Some souls rested in peace, while others endured torment, separated by a great chasm, as Jesus described in the parable of the rich man and Lazarus. But why is this important? Well, when Jesus died, he didn't just experience physical death. His soul descended to Sheol. The Bible makes it clear that he didn't remain there. He was on a mission to confront death and unlock the gates for those trapped in the waiting room of Sheol. This wasn't a place of defeat for him, but the beginning of his victory. In real life, we all face moments of challenge and struggle, where it might feel like we're in a waiting room of sorts, unsure of what comes next. But just like Jesus, who faced the darkness head-on to bring light, we can find hope even in our toughest times. His descent reminds us that no matter how deep we feel we've fallen, there's always a way out, a way to overcome. Now, while Sheol was understood in this ancient context, it's crucial to remember that Jesus' descent wasn't just symbolic. It was the next step in God's eternal plan. He went there, not as a prisoner, but as a conqueror. This brings us to the next big question. What did Jesus accomplish in Sheol? Let's dive into how his victory over death and all it represents reshapes our understanding of life and eternity. Section 2. The victory of Christ over death and evil. When we talk about Jesus' victory over death, it's essential to grasp that his descent wasn't about defeat. It was about taking back control. Think about it like this. If you were to face the greatest fear or challenge in your life, would you cower in fear, or would you rise and confront it head on? Jesus chose to confront death, not run from it. His journey into the depths wasn't just a spiritual retreat, it was a victory march. Jesus went to the very heart of death, not to become a prisoner, but to become the conqueror. In the spiritual world, where Satan and death had dominion, Jesus took the keys of death and hell, a powerful declaration that he was the true ruler over all. In real life, we often face challenges that seem bigger than us, whether it's illness, loss, or even doubt. But what Jesus' victory teaches us is this: when we face those challenges, we're not facing them alone. Just as he triumphed over the darkest forces, we too can find strength to overcome the battles in our own lives. The victory he secured over death is now available to each of us. Now, this victory didn't just impact the spiritual realm, it had a real-world effect. Jesus' triumph means that death no longer holds fear or finality over us. For believers, the grave isn't the end, it's just a step into eternity. So, if Jesus defeated death, what does that mean for those who waited in Sheol? What did his victory mean for them? Let's explore how his resurrection set the captives free and fulfilled the promises of old overcome. Now, while Sheol was understood in this ancient context, it's crucial to remember that Jesus' descent wasn't just symbolic. It was the next step in God's eternal plan. He went there not as a prisoner, but as a conqueror. This brings us to the next big question. What did Jesus accomplish in Sheol? Let's dive into how his victory over death and all it represents reshapes our understanding of life and eternity. Section 3. The Resurrection. What happened to the righteous souls in Sheol? When Jesus descended into Sheol, he didn't just confront death, he fulfilled a promise made long ago. You see, the righteous souls who had passed before him, people like Abraham, Moses, and David, were waiting in Sheol for the ultimate redemption. They couldn't enter heaven just yet because the way hadn't been fully opened. They were in a place of peace, but it was temporary. Think of it like being in a waiting room before being allowed into a grand banquet. Jesus' victory over death wasn't just for those alive at the time. His triumph reached back to the righteous who had passed away, bringing them the freedom they had been waiting for. In Matthew 27:52-53, the Bible tells us that after Jesus' resurrection, many saints who had died were brought back to life and appeared to people in the city. This was a powerful sign that Jesus' resurrection wasn't just a personal victory. It was the beginning of a new era where death no longer had the final say. In our own lives, we often find ourselves waiting for promises to be fulfilled, whether it's a personal dream, a healing, or even a breakthrough in our faith. The resurrection of the righteous souls in Sheol reminds us that even in the waiting, God is at work, preparing something far greater than we can imagine. But what does this mean for us today? What is the real significance of these souls being freed from Sheol? Let's explore how Jesus' victory opened the door for us, allowing us to access God's presence in a way that was previously impossible. Section 4. The Victory over Satan and the Powers of Darkness. Jesus' descent into Sheol wasn't just about confronting death. It was also a direct assault on the powers of darkness. Satan, who once held dominion over death, thought he had won when Jesus died on the cross. But what Satan didn't expect was that Jesus' death would be the very thing that defeated him. Jesus didn't just die for our sins. He came to destroy the very source of sin and death, the devil himself. Imagine a bully who's controlled the playground for years, intimidating everyone. Then one day, someone stronger, braver, and wiser steps onto the field and says, "It ends now." That's exactly what Jesus did. He didn't just break the chains of death, he stripped the devil of his power. In Colossians 2:15, it says that Jesus disarmed the powers and authorities. He made a public spectacle of them, triumphing over them by the cross. This wasn't a quiet, private victory. It was a declaration of absolute authority over the enemy. In real life, we all face moments when we feel overwhelmed by negative forces, fear, addiction, insecurity, or even the weight of our past mistakes. But the victory of Jesus means that we no longer have to live in fear of these powers. Just as he defeated Satan, we too can claim victory over the forces that try to control us. It's a reminder that no matter what darkness surrounds us, Jesus' light is always stronger. Now that we've seen how Jesus conquered death and evil, let's turn our attention to how this victory directly affects us today, how we can live with the authority Jesus won for us. Let's explore the practical implications of his triumph in our daily lives. Section 5. Practical applications. How the victory of Jesus changes our lives today. Jesus' victory over death, Satan, and the powers of darkness isn't just a historical event. It's a powerful truth that impacts our lives every single day. Because Jesus triumphed over death, we no longer need to fear it. His resurrection gives us the assurance that no matter what we face in life, we are never truly defeated. Think about the challenges you might be facing right now. Maybe it's a personal struggle, a health issue, or even doubt about the future. The victory of Jesus means that these battles aren't the end of the story. Just as Jesus overcame the darkest moments, you too can experience victory in your own life. His power isn't just a distant event. It's available to you right now. For example, when we face fear, we can remind ourselves that Jesus has already defeated the source of that fear. When we face temptation, we can stand firm in the authority he's given us to overcome it. But here's the lesson. Living in the victory of Jesus means we must act as conquerors in our own lives. We don't have to live under the control of fear, guilt, or even addiction. We are called to live in the freedom he secured for us. This is the practical power of the resurrection. It's not just something to celebrate once a year, but something to apply daily. As we wrap up, let's remember that Jesus' victory was not just for the moment, it's for eternity. It's a call to live boldly, knowing that no matter what life brings, we have the ultimate victory in Christ. Now, with this understanding, let's look at how Jesus' victory opens the door for us to experience even more of God's presence and promises in our lives. The journey doesn't stop here. Let's explore the lasting impact of his triumph. Conclusion. Summarize key points and invite reflection. In the past few minutes, we've explored a profound journey Jesus made, not just through physical death, but into the very heart of Sheol, where he triumphed over death and darkness. His victory wasn't just for the past, it's for you and me today. Jesus didn't descend as a prisoner, but as a conqueror, taking back the keys of death and hell and freeing those who had been waiting for the promise of redemption. What does this mean for us now? It means we live in the light of his victory. We no longer need to fear death or be controlled by the forces of darkness. Instead, we can walk confidently in the authority he's given us, knowing that we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. So, take a moment and reflect. How does Jesus' victory over death change the way you approach the challenges in your own life? Whatever you're facing, remember that the same power that raised Jesus from the dead is available to you today. It's a victory that continues to shape our lives, our hopes, and our eternal future. Thank you for joining me in this reflection. Take this truth with you and let it inspire you to live with renewed hope and courage.